Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Abhinav, and in this video today we'll see about the UPSC CMS 2021 pediatrics solutions. So we have already discussed about the surgery solutions, so you can check that in our page also. And if there is any mistake in this solutions that I have given, please do let me know. Please comment about those things in the comment section. And for this solution today, I've used OP Guys textbook and also Marrow Notes. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. And we have also started a Telegram group. You can join there. The link is in description as well. So let's start solving. So the first question is, a 10-year-old girl is diagnosed with dengue. She has abdominal pain, persistent vomiting. Examination reveals normal blood pressure, but the hematocrit is found to be increased. So what is the most appropriate initial fluid management? So this patient in this history, what they have given is that the patient is having dengue with warning signs. So that is abdominal pain, persistent vomiting, and all those things. And when a patient comes with these signs, you will have to admit this patient. So after admitting, initially if the hematocrit is increased, we'll have to start ringer lactates at 7 ml per kg per hour. So what we'll do is we'll just start with 7 ml per kg per hour. Then later on we'll recheck the hematocrit. If the hematocrit has decreased, then what we'll have to do is we'll have to change the RL fluids to 5 ml per hour for the next 1 hour. And then we'll change it to 3 ml per kg per hour for the next 24 to 48 hours. So that is how dengue with warning signs are treated. So the next question, a child presents with headache, vomiting in the emergency room following a fall from bed. Which one of the following treatment modalities is not recommended in the emergency room? IV mannitol, yes, this will decrease the ICP. And administration of hypertonic saline, yes. Elevate the head end by 30 degrees, yes. Again, this is to decrease the ICP. And therapeutic lumbar puncture, no. So if you are doing a lumbar puncture in a patient with high ICP, what will happen is that it can cause brain herniation. So whenever doing a lumbar puncture, first you will have to rule out high intracranial pressure. If there is high intracranial pressure, please don't do lumbar puncture. That will cause brain herniation. So the recommended ratio for chest compression to breaths administered by a single rescuer during resuscitation of a child in cardiac arrest. So remember, this can be a little bit confusing. If there is one rescuer, it is 30:2. If there is two rescuer, it is just 15:2. This is because when there are two rescuers, if you are giving it 15:2, the 15 compressions that they give will be very, very efficient. But if you see in the person with a single rescuer, just because they don't want to stop the CPR in between, they will continuously do it for 30 and then they will give 2 breaths. But if you see the 30 compressions, the first 15 or to 20 will be good, but the last 10 is not very good. So that is why when there are two rescuers, you will do it 15:2 ratio. Okay. So in adults, it is 30:2. The 4-year-old comatose child is assessed with modified GCS. So one of the following correct interpretations of the score given as E2, V3, M2 for the best eye, verbal, and motor response. So E2 here it is eye opening to pain. So eye opening to speech will be usually 3. So E2 is eye opening to pain. V3 is verbal. Verbal 3 is cries to pain. So V3 is cries to pain. Moans to pain is V2. And then they have asked for what is M2, motor. So M2 is extension to pain, whereas M3 is abnormal flexion to pain. So if it is E2, V3, M2, the answer is eye opening to pain, cries to pain, and extension to pain. If it was E2, V2, M3, then option C would be correct. Eye opening to pain, moans to pain, and abnormal flexion. But for this question, E2, V3, M2, answer D is correct. So what will a baby with mild hypothermia feel like when touched by the back of hand of an examiner? Mild hypothermia is less than 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So in mild, the abdomen will be warm, but the hands and feet will be cold. This is when the temperature is less than 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So which of the following manifestation is seen in hypocalcemia? So usually it's nausea and vomiting. So this is quite a controversial question. So a 6-week-old infant presents with unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. Which of the following could be a likely diagnosis? So unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia is usually seen in Dublin-Johnson syndrome and Rotar syndrome. Dublin-Johnson, we know that it is due to the gene defect, and Rotar syndrome is also gene defect. So galactosemia, it also usually causes conjugated bilirubin, just like Dublin's and Rotars, whereas congenital hypothyroidism, that also causes conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So that is the controversy here. Here they have asked about unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, but all the four things cause conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. But on reading, there were some places where they have mentioned that some types of galactosemia can cause unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So if given these four options, I would like to go with galactosemia. But this is still a controversial question. A mother with polyhydramnios gives birth to a term newborn infant who develops choking and cyanosis on feeding soon after birth. There is excessive drooling and frothing from mouth, most likely diagnosis. So they have given the mother is polyhydramnios, which means that there is increased amniotic fluid. So this newborn also choking and cyanosis, having cyanosis on feeding. So this is usually seen in tracheoesophageal fistula, because when the child is eating, the food it goes from esophagus to the trachea. That's why the patient develops choking and cyanosis. So there is also excessive drooling and frothing from the mouth due to the same reason. So the answer here is tracheoesophageal fistula. So usually in newborns, what they do is that they tend to urinate, and in the fetus time they tend to urinate, and the fluid again goes into their mouth. So these children, the esophagus, since it is blind ending, they can have the fluid circulation is not very good inside and outside the fetus. So the amniotic fluid increases inside the uterine cavity, causing polyhydramnios. An infant just started to watch his mother intently when she talks to him. He has not yet started smiling black. What is the approximate age of the child? So this question says that started to watch his mother intently, which is done at 4 weeks. He has not started smiling back. That is usually seen at 6 weeks. So here the child's approximate age would be 4 weeks, because they started to watch his mother intently and he is not smiling back. Had they asked if the child is smiling back at their mother, then it would be 6 weeks. A child demonstrates a mature pincer grasp, is able to build a tower of maximum 6 blocks and can make vertical and circular stroke with pencil. His developmental age is around what? So the question here, they have asked child is doing mature pincer grasp, which is usually seen at 1 year of age. But they have also given that child is able to build a tower of maximum 6 blocks and can make a vertical and circular stroke with pencil, which is usually done at 24 months. So the greater, so when you compare 1 year and 2 year things, the patient will have to choose the 2 year thing, that is 24 months. A typically developing girl is able to creep upstairs, build a tower of 2 blocks. Which of the following skills should she also display? So when the girl is able to build a tower of 2 blocks, that means the girl's age is 15 months. At 15 months, they are also expected to do scribbling. A child can ride a tricycle, hop on one foot, but cannot skip. Uses alternate feet while going downstairs. So it's not upstairs, it's downstairs. Which of the following motor skills should he be able to perform at his developmental age? So when you see a child can ride a tricycle at 3 years of age, hop on one foot at 4 years of age, and can also use alternate field while going downstairs at 4 years of age. So at 4 years of age, we'll expect the child to copy a cross, that is 4. So usually triangle, that is at 5 years of age, and cross is 4 years of age. And can also draw square at 4.5 years age, and circle at 3 years of age. So the next question is, which one of the following skills is a normally developing 2-year-old infant unable to perform? So what 2-year-old cannot perform is that cannot copy a circle. As I just said, circle is being copied only at 3 years of age. At 2 years of age, copying a circle is not expected. Which of the following statement is age appropriate for a normally developing 4-month-old infant? So the infant can bring his hand to the midline. Yes, this is usually expected. The infant has still not attained partial head control. So yeah, partial head control is usually attained at 6 months of age. The infant has started making monosyllable sounds like da, pa, again at 6 months of age. So which one of the following statement is age appropriate for normally developing 4 months old infant is child can bring his hand to the midline, whereas infant has started to reach out one hand, partial head control, da, pa, are usually seen at 6 months of age. Which one of the following is used to estimate the surface area of burn injuries in children less than 15 years of age? So here the answer is London Broder chart. Rules of nine is used for adults, and Parkland formula is usually for calculating fluids, and this is not for measuring body surface area. Answer is C. A 4-year-old boy presents with ingestion of many tablets of salicylate. Which one of the following complications is likely to develop? Salicylate is nothing but salicylic acid. So whenever you ingest acid, what you will get is metabolic acidosis. A 3-year-old boy presents with parental concerns regarding delayed development, especially speech. On observation, clinician notes decreased eye contact, inattentiveness, unresponsive of being called, and toe walking. What is the most likely diagnosis? So here they are given 3 years old, where autism spectrum is usually seen around 3 years of age. ADHD can be seen till 12 years of age. So also other two C and D options are not likely. So we'll have to choose between A and B. So in autism spectrum, the patient will have speech problems and also development problems. So social problems are also there, and patient is also inattentive. So this is most likely to be autism spectrum, because in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, what happens is that the patients will usually have hyperactivity and inattentiveness again, and then they can have more and more symptoms, which usually is not given in this questions. So then the next question, atomoxetine is prescribed to children with autism spectrum disorder to control the symptoms of hyperactivity, because atomoxetine is usually just like a drug like clonidine. It's like alpha 2 agonist, which is usually used in autism spectrum disorders for mainly for the controlment of the hyperactivity. So fractional inactivated intradermal poliovirus vaccine is given at which age of national immunization schedule? So we have to be here. We have to be careful here, because they have asked for the fractional inactivated intradermal poliovirus. So usually IPV is given at 6, 10, and 14 weeks, but the fractional intradermal polio vaccine is given only at 6 and 14 weeks. For protective efficacy of varicella vaccine, which is used for post-exposure prophylaxis within 72 hours of contact, is 70%. So after contact, it is 70%, but before contact can go till 80 and 90%. A 10-year-old child presents with difficulty in word recognition, word decoding abilities, difficulty in speech, and normal listening comprehension. So the patient here, what they are asking is the diagnosis, which is usually dyslexia, because you can see here the patient is having normal listening comprehension, and they haven't given much of clues to choose the answer as B, C, and D. So here they're mainly talking about the words, so it is dyslexia. Which one of the following is the best strategy to use in management of temper tantrums in a 3-year-old boy? So here giving it to the demands physical punishment, scolding, no. Timeout is the answer. So timeout is means not giving attention to the child. So how it is done is corresponding to the years of age. So if it is a 1-year-old boy, we'll give timeout of 1 minute. 2-year-old boy, timeout of 2 minutes. So here it is a 3-year-old boy, so we'll give timeout of 3 minutes. So that was the pediatric questions, and you can again comment how much you got right, and also if there is any mistakes in this solutions, please let me know in the comments so that you, me, or no one will be misguided and we'll all be going in the right direction. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, and I'll be meeting you soon with the solution of other subjects also. So I need your help for that. So please join my Telegram channel, and let's solve together so that we can solve more subjects also. So thank you. See you soon.